All right, there we go. Should be able to hear me just fine now. That was weird. Alrighty, but I believe we should be all good. Now I'm a bit late to the stream. Normally I would be here a little earlier, but had some stuff come up. But it's all good though. We here, we good to go. So today it's gonna be an interesting one. For one, I want to start with YouTube going to give me a warning about my microchip video saying I spread misinformation. Here's the funny thing. Their rules state, you can't spread misinformation about COVID and the vaccine and whatnot. I didn't say anything about COVID or the vaccine. What I said was I don't trust the government. They have lied to us before. I don't know, weapons of mass destruction in the Middle East, anyone? Edward Snowden, anyone? The entire welfare state will help anyone. Like, they've lied to us repeatedly. That's what they're good at. That's what they do all the time. So I said, whatever they're doing with these chips, I'm not interested in, and I don't want to be a part of. And I think it's crazy, and I think it could result in something bad because they typically don't tell us everything, and then they lie to us even when they do tell us things. So that being said, want to give me a warning. It's not a strike. I can still stream and upload, but see if I can get that warning removed and get that video back up, because I didn't even mention COVID, and the only times I did, or the vaccine, the only times I did was within the article I was reading. But it's fine, YouTube, it's fine. So we're gonna get into the show without further ado. We're rolling into another episode of the Minds of Culture podcast. Today's stimulating topic are BLM protesters seem to leave when the victim appears to be white. That's our headline story for you. We want to start there, and we got more stuff from Makaya Bryant to Canada being crazy yet again. Just seems like that place doesn't care about their citizens whatsoever. Not that the US is doing too much better, but at least you can change states. And of course, we have Kerosene Maxine. Hope you guys enjoy the show. So let's start with this. BLM protesters rally for victim, leave after learning he was white. It don't get no better than that. I swear, like, someone's out there just like, I think this would be good content. Yeah, I'll get this good content for him. Just shameful. Black Lives Matter protesters in Minnesota dropped to a knee and set off a march over a fatal police shooting only to return when they learned it was a white carjacker who had fired at police, according to reports. Dozens of people protest outside Governor Tim Walz's mansion in St. Paul on Sunday were filmed by Fox 9 reporter Mitty Hicks as they knelt for a moment of silence over rumors about Sunday's 3 p.m. fatal shooting. And that's the important thing to notice. Rumors. The details weren't even out. So, of course, BLM, another black man down, bad system, systematic, blah, 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 all the whining. Funny thing, though, they mobilized so fast, which is funny when people act like this isn't an organization, this isn't a group. They don't have section charters and organizational tools that they use. Organized so fast that was out there protesting. Didn't even know the color of the person they were protesting. It don't get no better than that, folks. So, if we go back here. Protesters kneel after hearing there was an offer-involved shooting in Burnsville moments ago. Hicks tweeted of the wild, caught-on-camera armed carjacking in the suburbs. This information has not been confirmed, but this group says they're heading there, Hicks said. The man who was killed is believed to be a white man in his 20s who had stolen a car from a woman at gunpoint, then repeatedly shot at the cops that chased after him. And then let's see what happens. After learning this, Protesters turned back and instead headed to Brooklyn Center, the city where Wright had died, because they needed more information about what had happened, Hicks said in an update. And then, of course, people were rightfully giving him crap about this. People rioting for armed carjacker. Are you stupid? Just loot and riot immediately. Just, you know, reasonable criticisms to say that you're going to come out before you even know any of the information. But of course they were. So it never ceases to amaze me how deranged these people are, how crazy this will get, to the point where it's just, at what point do you realize you're not doing this because you care about anyone? You're doing this for ego boosting, Instagram likes, clicks, a sense of value, a sense of purpose that you don't have within yourself. When do you get to that point where that realization happens? Because I've been looking at these cases, all of this. We've all been looking at the riots, the looting, the fires, the storms, all of the stuff. But never do they change the course they're on or what they're doing. Never. Dark times, people, dark times. But we're going to move on to something you just don't hear about, because it doesn't fit the narrative, doesn't fit the media narrative. And, you know, it's funny that people say, oh, black man down, they're always gunning for us. Let's just see if that's always true. See if you heard about this story. So, Maryland trooper shoots and kills teenager who had airsoft gun, police say. It's a horrific situation, Christy Boyle, the mother of 16-year-old Peyton Ham, said. This is in College Park, Maryland. He was killed while he had an airsoft gun, and also was said that he came at the officer with a knife and pointed the replica at the trooper. So then he was shot. And the best part is, not the best, obviously, this is tragic, this is not good, but the best as far as the news goes, or maybe even the worst, the worst, yeah, not the best, the worst about it, is that he will not get any attention, because you see all this straight hair, these blue eyes, this Caucasian skin, no coverage, no care, no justice, if that word has any value these days. None of that. Why? Because he's white. BLM leaves protest when it's found as a white person. And the funny thing about it is that a lot of people will say, oh, BLM, they care about, you know, all like the state issues and whatnot, not just black people. Because if you bring up the fact that, you know, we have shootings and inner city violence and gangs and lawlessness and a million other things as a threat to black people over the cops every single day of the week, people say, oh, no, well, that's the issue too, but they're trying to take on the system. So they're just focused on the system right now, and they're going to work on that after. That's going to be their next goal, or that's other people's fights. They're trying to fight the system. Okay. But then when stuff happens to other people, they don't fight the system. And that's another story that was covered. But here, we see as well that the major news media and most people don't care about actual stories that go on and how this affects more people, and the state is a larger issue for everyone, not just black people. But let them tell it. Black man can't go to McDonald's without getting gunned down by the cops. Simply not true. But I got another one for you. I don't want to end just there. We do have another case of news you just don't hear about. News that BLM isn't going to talk about. News to everyone with the little black squares, and LeBron with his social justice, and Colin Kaepernick with his Nike deal. They're not gonna talk about. 7-year-old girl killed in drive-by shooting while at McDonald's drive-thru. You know, it's crazy. I just said McDonald's, but it's funny because the cops didn't kill him. Gang violence did, because that's a lot bigger of an issue. A 7-year-old girl is dead after a hail of gunfire struck her father's vehicle while the two were at Chicago area McDonald's drive-thru while anticipating a meal together. Details are, authorities say, the child, Jocelyn Adams, and her 29-year-old father, Jonte Adams, had just pulled to the drive-thru when two people exited a nearby vehicle and sprayed the car with bullets. Jocelyn and her father were both struck by the bullets, were rushed to a nearby hospital. Jonte survived, but his young daughter, who was struck multiple times, according to reports, did not. Roughly 30 shell casings were found near the vehicle. No suspects have been publicly identified at the time of reporting, because a lot of murders, I believe it's like 70%, go unsolved. At least that was the figures like a year or two ago. Could be different now, but a lot of murders go unsolved. Extremely sad. But it's interesting where they take this. Let's take a look here. We have here Mayor Lori Lightfoot. I am heartbroken and angered that a 7-year-old child was killed this afternoon on Chicago's west side. This is unthinkable act of violence, has no place here. The epidemic of gun violence cutting off children's lives is short and cannot go on. You see how she frames it, right? The way she frames this is the fact that gun violence cannot go on, instead of just gang violence, you know, there's an issue as far as culturally and people not caring about terrorizing their neighborhoods. It's not gun violence's fault, because obviously she's definitely would love to abolish 2A. She would love to strip everyone of guns, but the issue is it's not legal gun owners. And she didn't exactly say that, but you can see how she spends it. You know what this lady's politics are. We've seen her talk many times. The stricter gun laws, the more people that will not be able to defend themselves. If you might not believe this, but here, check this out for a second. Most of the gun use of last year and the year before that, and pretty much every year, are defensive cases. Most people who use guns are using them defensively to protect their home, themselves, their family, the kids, the dogs, the cats, the wives, the white picket fence, and everything else they own. That's what they're using it for. So now the people who don't do that, and typically, you know who those people are? Those are the people that get them illegally, that are criminals, that are seeking to hurt people, that are going to find a way to hurt people regardless. You hear about grenade attacks in other countries, acid attacks in other countries, mass stabbings. Taking away guns does not stop violence. It will stop your ability to defend yourself against whatever violence someone's trying to inflict upon you. And that's just the hard, honest truth. Now, before we get to Makaya Bryant, I want to discuss something crazy. If you wonder where society is going, the degradation of it, the ridiculousness of where we are today, look absolutely no further than this story right here. This is going to be a hard one, folks. Student shares campus tale that soap dispensers are racist. Student at University of California, Los Angeles, not surprising, suggested that hand soap dispensers are the latest form of systemic racism, according to her peers. Sullivan Israel, a civil engineering student, recounted a debate he attended by his school's Republican group in which a black student said automatic dispensers did not take to her because of the color of her skin. As one UCLA student claimed during the debate, automatic soap dispensers don't see her hands due to the dark pigment of her skin. Israel wrote in the College Fix, as another student reiterated, soap dispensers are racist because they force black and brown bodies to show their palms, the only light areas on the skin, in order to get the soap out. However, automated soap dispensers use a motion detectors that triggers the soap to fall rather than this detection mechanism determined by someone's skin. Israel described how he feels the term racism is thrown around too freely on campus, saying that such claims diminish bigger charges of racial discrimination. Yeah, I wonder if there's an issue when you say soap is racist. When people rant and rave about soap dispensers, it delegitimizes claims of racism. Student also labeled systemic racism a conspiracy theory, calling for it to be moved as an academic concept in school. At least someone there has some sense, because let me tell you, I almost vomited out of my nose, ears, mouth, and eyeballs. This is what happens. This is what happens when people have no conflict in their lives. People aren't to work for anything. People have nothing in their life that actually interests them. No values upon themselves. Just everything possibly bad. Like when you start blaming soap dispensers for why you can't do something, because we're talking about racism, systemic racism, we're talking about that. That's suppressing the community. That's making sure you can't progress in life. So you're going to claim soap dispensers are systemically racist. What about a soap dispenser is causing you not to progress in your life? Is this crap, this drivel, this bile, this human bile that disgusts me so much to my very core. I have nothing else to say about this other than the fact that if you have a child, if you're going to have a child, whatever you can do, plan. And if you cannot afford this, do not have one. Do not subject your child to this bull crap. Homeschool them if it's in your means. Get them into a private school if it's in your means. Teach them about trade schools and independence, and avoid these colleges at all costs for majority of jobs and public schooling in general. Anywhere the government has their greedy, disgusting mitts in. Because this is what happens. They come out this way. Vile is what this is. Now, we will be moving on to Makaya Bryant. There's a couple of things I want to say at the top of this. One, Makaya Bryant got shot. I'm not gonna play the video here. If you want to go see the video, you can watch somewhere else. I don't like using videos and stuff for clicks. I don't like just watching people die. Like, I get no pleasure out of that. I can talk about the situation, give an honest interpretation, but I'm not interested in further putting out people dying just for clicks. So if you want to watch it, you can go watch it. It's posted plenty of other places. Plenty of other people have used it in their videos. I'm just going to talk about it. So, and most of you have probably already seen it and know about it. So, Makaya Bryant, couple things. Apparently there's an issue with bullying or people fighting and whatnot. So apparently what happens is Makaya is what people have said that is the person that called the cops. If you listen to the actual recording of the police call, it sounds like the person calling is complaining and worried about a knife. And if they're the one worried about a knife, Makaya's the person that had the knife. So it's a little strange if she's the person that called. Could she be? Possibly, yes. I believe at this time they still haven't disclosed that. Oof. Sorry, you lost me there for a second. I believe, yes, they still have not fully disclosed that information. However, what I do believe is that whoever called and it doesn't matter. Whoever called, it doesn't matter, because once they got to the scene, officer pulls up, and what you'll be able to see is that the officer pulls up to a scene where nothing is happening. And since there's nothing happening, what that means is that it's a relatively calm scene. It's a relatively calm scene. No one's fighting or anything yet. Makaya comes running out, and that leads to the stabbing of another person. Or that leads it to her pushing over one of the girls and then going to stab another one of the girls. Now, the one thing I can show you is the fact that there is a video of the neighbor's camera footage that you can see what happened from the neighbor's camera footage point of view. So that way you know that this officer did not just pull up out of nowhere. So I do want to show you that, but I don't want to get all the way to the shooting part. I'm not interested in showing more of that. So we'll go ahead and check that out. Okie dokie, let's check this out. So you can see there's someone right here, they're talking, then she rushes out, then pushes her. Now, if we go back, let's watch, because cops so they coming out here arguing. Cop pulls up. There's more cops coming in this way. Cop is here, he's walking. The cop is visible. People know this cop is here. There's no issue. You start fighting when the cop is here. Then you run and you pull up to this girl, and then the knife is in her hand. And the knife, from another angle, that scene is right here, or a larger picture, you can see it right there. The knife is very clearly and visibly within her hand. And of course, that's when she got shot. Not interested in showing that again. As you can see, the cop protected this woman in pink's life. No idea how old she is. Is a big girl. Not to even talk about weight. She's just relatively tall for her age. She probably, if she was alive today, probably wouldn't grow that much taller than this. She'd probably look like this in a couple years as well. So we're just saying like, oh, she's not an adult. If she was 18, making her an adult, 2 years, I doubt she would look all too dissimilar from this. So the cop takes into his hands and makes sure she doesn't kill that girl. I don't understand the issue with this, for people, because Makaya was a danger to someone else, whether she called the cops or not. When the cops arrived on the scene, what she did was ignore the cop there, ignore all the yelling. She started a fight after the cops got there. So there was a fight before, there was arguments and physicality before going on. There was nothing happened when they pulled up to the scene. Why would you start a fight in front of the cops? Now, here's my thing. I'm not a fan of police. I'm not a fan of state police. I'm a fan of policing, but I would prefer it to be privatized and for people to be able to choose their cops, private firms and whatnot. However, in this situation, I have to look at what it is for what it is. This woman was a clear and present danger, and they had to eliminate the threat. She was the threat. But there's some things around this case I want to talk about. We're going to start with Joy Behar. You don't know who she is? She's right here. She works on The View. And I just want to let you know what she had to say. So, I mean, it seems to me in this situation, this is what it looked like to me. This is Joy Behar. I looked at the tape. I still can't figure it out. Shoot the gun in the air as a warning. Clearly, this woman has never heard of gravity, as in the thing that will, you know, things that go up must come down. So you know what that means? That bullet will go up and then come down, and guess what? It's still a bullet and it's still going pretty fast. It can hurt someone, if not kill them. So one, that's dangerous and negligent for you to say to all the viewers of The View national TV. Dangerous and negligent. Did she get flack for that? She gets some from conservative, the right, and libertarians, but you know, mass media, no, she doesn't get flack for it. That's one thing. Tase a person. She has a knife in hand, primed, ready to stab. Like primed, ready to stab, ready to go in. You know what that means? You know what that means? So if you tase them, you know what that still stab. So there's that. What's your other option? I wonder. Let's see what else she says. Shoot them in the leg. People think this is John Wick, The Matrix. This is an action movie. This is a video game. You aim for center mass because you can easily miss things. You're not a robot. You're not a superhuman. People are regular people, and you want to aim for center mass so you can hit good shots. That's it. Shoot him in the leg. That might not work. And even if she got shot in the leg, if she has enough adrenaline going, or if she was on anything, not saying she was, but just saying, sometimes she could still get done what she needed to get done if that was the case. Let's see what's next. Shoot them in the behind. Does she not realize that that's also the bottom of your spinal cord, and you could shoot that at the base of your back, like towards your behind and whatnot, and paralyze them forever? So you could also hit arteries and whatnot, and I don't know, maybe cause them to bleed out and die as well. So realistically, that shot can do just as much damage, and also possibly not stop them. So all that's going to do is either not stop them or do just as much damage. So it makes no sense. And then she goes on to say, stop them somehow. If the only solution is to kill a teenager, there's something wrong with this. See, that's the issue right there, is that we have someone here that knows nothing about guns, probably has never fired a gun, has no idea about gun safety as well. These are the people that want to take people's guns away and want to say, oh, we need more gun restrictions and laws and stuff. And you know why you think that is because you think shooting guns into the air is a good idea. Ridiculous. Now, I don't like Don Squeeze Lemon, but I will give him credit in this. I will give him some credit because he actually had this to say, and I'll say it was a relatively decent take.
Ohio is tough. It is really, really, really tough. Yeah.
You know, you were really, to be honest, let's let the audience into something. So Don and I heard about this story last night on social media while we were doing coverage for you of the Chauvin verdict last night. And the initial reports didn't seem right. And it was so interesting for me, as emotional and personal as these stories are to someone of color, especially Don, you with your background, you were cautious about it. You were saying, I want to see this one. I want to see this. Because there was a lot of emotion, and understandably so. You got a 16-year-old kid that's gone.
Yeah.
And it's a hard one. I do not know how to explain this to people in a way that doesn't make somebody very angry.
Well, yes, and we're dealing with a lot of emotion right now, and I'm going to talk about that in a moment. And I think that is, it's real, and you have to take that part has to be taken into account. There's a lot of anguish. People are very emotional right now, but we've got to be fair about what happens when police arrive at scenes. It is tragic that it's a 16-year-old girl, just as it is tragic that it's a 13-year-old in Chicago. When police are chasing people, they don't know how old they are. And they don't run and say, hey, how old are you? Oh, I'm...
Now, he goes on to say more, but as you can see, that's a relatively reasonable take and consider what he normally says and the normal rhetoric he pushes out. So I'll give them credit. I'll give him credit as far as being reasonable for once. But, you know, a broken clock is right twice a day. But we're not quite done with Makaya yet. As you might have known, LeBron had some things to say. Without further ado, let's just look at it. So, LeBron James isn't afraid to share his activism on social media. But this time, he may have taken it too far. LeBron tweeted, "You're next. Hourglass emoji, hashtag accountability with a picture of the cop who shot." When we talk about inciting violence, we talk about accountability, we talk about people using their platforms to get people hurt. This right here is a pretty awful example, as this could easily get this guy in a lot of trouble physically. Someone could chase this guy down and look for him. Now, obviously, the tape is out and everything, but you amplifying it and as dog whistle, as they like to say, to your followers, doesn't seem like you took that much accountability. Of course, people were talking about it. People were having issues with it, all legitimate criticism. But you know something funny? Listen to what LeBron had to say in 2019. And this is about the comments about China and Hong Kong, because, you know, Hong Kong, you know, doesn't want to get taken over by China and just become part of their communist country that they can do anything to them. Let's see what LeBron had to say.
I believe he wasn't educated on the situation at hand. So many people could have been harmed, not only financially, but physically, emotionally, spiritually. So just be careful what we tweet and we say. We do have freedom of speech, but there can be a lot of negative that comes with that too. I believe he wasn't educated on the situation at hand. So many people could have been harmed, not only financially.
This replaying now, but Bron, why could you not take your own advice, my guy? Huh? Would it have been so difficult to take your own advice and say that maybe it'd be a bad idea because I could harm someone and we should be careful about what we tweet? Interesting. And you can see some followers are definitely here for it. And let's look at this. Oh, and it's a white guy. It's a white guy. Of course it is. Unsurprising. So he took it down. Let's see what he says. Anger doesn't any of us any good, and that includes myself. Gathering all the facts that educating does, though. My anger is still there for what happened, that little girl. My sympathy for her family may justice prevail. I'm so damn tired of seeing black people killed by police. I took the tweet down because it's being used to create more hate. This isn't about one officer. It's about the entire system, and they always use our word to create more racism. I'm so desperate for more accountability. You're desperate for more accountability. However, you don't own up to it, and you just delete the tweet and don't own up to it. You say people are creating more racism with your comments, just saying, hey, there's an issue you're creating and you're inciting violence with your comments. You know, we know that we want to incite violence, so you're kind of doing that here, LeBron. However, that's fine as far as the white is, because it's a white officer. And you're gonna say the entire system when, and it's not about one officer. Why didn't you post the entire police department? Why didn't you post badges? Why didn't you post just a landscape picture of a police sign or something? Or post a picture of a bunch of cops together, or a collage of cops. Could have did that, but you posted one cop. It was not about one cop. Why'd you post one cop? While everyone else to understand what you mean and go through things, but you don't want to do it for yourself. Of course. We're going to move on to what I can only say is one of the most horrific things I have ever read in my entire life. This is, without a doubt, horrifying, harrowing, disgusting, and overall sickening. Let's take a look, shall we? From the Velvet Chronicle. Father jailed for refusing to affirm daughter as male. I'll say that one more time. Father jailed for refusing to affirm daughter as male. When I did that a while ago, Sexuality is a Mess Today podcast, I got a lot of heat for that. This is what I was talking about. Imagine a world where you can be jailed for attempting to protect your child from medical assault. A future where you can no longer object to your child being subjected to medicalized gay conversion therapy. A country where the government can legally enforce a belief system and criminalize anyone who goes against the system of belief. No, I'm not talking about Iran. I'm talking about Canada. On Friday, April 16th, a father in Canada, Rob Hooligan, was sentenced to serve 6 months in jail for a crime of attempting to protect his child from medical assault, for speaking up and for refusing to abide by a legally enforced belief system, gender ideology. For parents in Canada, this is their new reality, and countries like the US aren't far behind. The ordeal began 7 years ago when Hooligan discovered his 12-year-old daughter's name had been changed in the 7th grade yearbook. From there, the truth unraveled. His child had been shown SOGI 123 education videos. Gender ideology indoctrination propaganda. At her school, she had decided she was a boy. The school affirmed the child was a transsexual, had socially transitioned her without informing the parents. And the school kept this all a secret from the parents in accordance with the BC Ministry of Educational Sexual Orientation and Gender Identity. I'm done. I'm out. I've read this article before. I struggle once I get to that point every time, and I have to push through it. I can't do it again. Go look it up for yourself. It's the Velvet Chronicle. You literally can't. Father jailed for misgendering daughter. Like, you're not gonna miss it. This right here is an issue. This right here is disgusting. This right here boils my blood. If you put some pasta noodles in my mouth right now, they would become the most al dente pasta noodles you ever had because I am boiling. You feel me, my G? This is disgusting. If you think this is okay, if you think it's okay for the government, the school system, the goddamn BC Ministry of Education, Sexual Orientation, and Gender Identity organization can just decide things for your child, then you get no choice. And if you go against what they said about your kid, you go to jail. This is a mess. This is the end of society. This is clown world. This isn't hyperbole, guys. This is real life. Someone was in jail. Someone's in jail for this. Other people are going to go to jail for this. This starts bad things. When the government says they can be a better parent than you. No evidence, no proof. Just because they decide so. This is vile. Makes me sick to my stomach. I honestly don't know how much longer we have until this bubble bursts. And when it bursts, it's not going to be pretty. Moving on. I want to talk about double standards. And I don't even want to preface this. I just want to go show it to you, put it right in your face, and you tell me what you think.
Reform. And so, yes, I would like to see the bill in Congress pass on police reform, but I know that the right wing, the racists, are opposed to it, and I don't know what's going to happen to it. But I know this: we've got to stay in the street, and we've got to demand justice.
As a black man, despite all of the efforts, I feel like nothing changes. And George Floyd is waking so many people up, yet nothing has happened. Despite the rhetoric, like what needs to happen that's different this year than all the years before?
We're looking for a guilty verdict.
This is before the Chauvin trial concluded.
And we're looking to see if all of the talk that took place and has been taking place after they saw what happened to George Floyd, if nothing does not happen, then we know that we've got to not only stay in the street, but we've got to fight for justice. But I am very hopeful, and I hope that we're going to get a verdict that will say guilty, guilty, guilty. And if we don't, we cannot go away.
And not just manslaughter, right? I mean...
Oh, no, not manslaughter. No. This is guilty for murder. I don't know whether it's in the first degree, but as far as I'm concerned, it's first degree murder.
Congresswoman, what happens if we do not get what you just told? What should the people do? What should protesters on the street do?
I didn't hear you.
What happens?
What should protesters do?
Well, we got to.
What should they do?
And we've got to get more active.
More active.
More confrontational.
More.
We've got to make sure that they know that we mean business.
What do you think about this curfew tonight?
Pour that kerosene on the fire. Maxine Waters, you're talking about we got to get more confrontational, more active. Protesters have burned down buildings, have destroyed lives, have came through, stole all types of things, created little tiny pocket cities like Seattle, like in Seattle with their Chaz Chop Zone. We've seen all of that go on, and you're saying now, if we don't get the verdict you like, you want more of that. More. You're a freaking monster is what you are, Maxine. And what I want to say, what I want to highlight, what I want to compare and contrast this with, is just something right here. BBC News, the Trump's words rally incite violence. Remember, Trump incited violence on January 5th. Oh my goodness, it was just the insurrection. I couldn't believe the threatening of our democracy. Oh my goodness. Let's take a look. We won this election by a landslide. We will stop the steal. We will never give up. We'll never concede. It doesn't happen. If you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore. Peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. We are going to the Capitol. These are some of the things President Trump had said. The only thing you could possibly say there that would incite violence is if you don't fight like hell. You have to fight like hell. And of course, that is an easy phrase people use it every time. Like, have you ever seen a Rocky movie? Like, well, obviously they're literally fighting there. But as far as even in training or even in some type of political drama or something like a game, a movie where it's like it's a court case or something like that, or something like Molly's Game or something, where it's just like, we gotta fight like hell. The idea is to stick up for what you believe in and not to give up on it under any circumstances. That's the idea. This whole, oh, maybe he might fight and go fight people. No, that doesn't make any sense. And in the context what he's talking about, it makes zero sense. But these are what they said from here's a couple of excerpts that incited violence. This is what people use. Kerosene Maxine came out here to people that have known, and protesters and rioters and looters, and she has known the fallout of this George Floyd situation. She has then came out and said, if we don't get the verdict, I want more, and not only that, more confrontation. That is in no discernible, no unclear terms, become more violent, and I want you to burn it all down. It's evil, it's manipulative, it's ruthless, it's monstrous. But this is what she does, and it's vile. And if you don't see the issue with this, and if you think Trump is the one inciting violence, when we've seen people like Lebron, like Maxine Waters, like the co-host on The View, I can never even remember her name, but she doesn't really matter. When we see people with their large platforms, with their political power in multiple walks of life, come out and do this, and they get no real heat in the way that Trump did for just saying, let's peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. The game is rigged. Y'all just playing a losing battle. Moving on to our final story. And this one I have been waiting for. I have been so excited to talk about this. This shows everything that we've been talking about the entire time. Let's take a look. Mother of Breonna Taylor blasts Black Lives Matter chapter as fraud that exploited her daughter's death. What are the details? Palmer wrote, let's just go right into her Facebook post. I think it's crazy when people say they've been here since day one. Let me be clear, Christopher 2X. The Montgomery family, Angie, Cherry, Tawan, and Craig is the one and only one day ones, not to mention Breonna's friends and family, but they've never needed recognition immediately following Isn't freedom. I have never personally dealt with BLM Louisville and personally have found them to be fraud. Atessa Scott, another fraud. Then there's the people at Injustice Square, aka Breeway, who has been 100 and held it down, but that doesn't go to say everyone down there, they know who we are and also never needed recognition. I could walk in a room full of people who claim to be here for Breonna's family, who don't even know who I am. I've watched y'all raise money on Breonna's behalf, who has never done a damn thing for us, nor have we needed it, or asked, so talk about fraud. It's amazing how many people have lost focus, shaking my damn head. I'm gonna say this before I go. I'm so sick of some of y'all. And I was last anybody who needs it with this shit. Enough is enough. There you have it. There's nothing else to even cover. There's nothing else to even cover. We do have Tamika Mallory, one of the founding members of Black Lives Matter, responding to this. So let's just see what they say. It really saddens me that you have to deal with all of this, and I wish I could just ignore all the lies and slander. What I know is that the history will record what is written and said about our efforts, and we must all be careful and truthful. When people say until freedom cheated people, that hurts. We sacrificed a lot, and just like everyone else, our families have suffered as a result of our time there, and we didn't take anything from anyone. We gave and gave and gave and gave and gave to your own bank accounts and wallets and pocketbooks, because it was the right thing to do. You disgust me. And because we know we had the privilege of visibility, which afforded us resources. Yeah, so you got visibility, which helped get you resources on the back of her death. And we continue to give to this day. To who? So I cannot sit back and allow the work of my team and all those who travel back and forth from around the country to support our work to be slandered, not by the people who know better. Those who lie to make themselves look like they did things they did not do. It's our job to protect the integrity of our work and our organizations, and we will do that. Aside from what I just stated, the other truth is that we're tired of the BS. We have done the Michelle Obama go high thing. That doesn't work all the times. So now, if you swing and lie, we're swinging back. I don't care if you say we're ugly, dumb, whack. That's all cool. But you won't get away with lying on our work. Tamika, I'm sorry. People have been kept saying you don't know what happened and you don't know who was helping and that you don't know what needed to be done. I'm sorry that people are sharing the lies of a person who claims you and your family helped the police and plotted against your child. It's sick. Those people never sat with you one time. From day one, you were keenly aware of everything and you knew exactly what you needed. These people are hypocrites because they like to use what the mother said in other situations. And trust, if you were calling me out, they would be the main ones sharing everywhere that Tamika Palmer, the mother of Breonna Taylor, said. Shaking my head, it's actually said. You see? Let's just finish this and we'll. There are many who contributed and continue to work on bringing justice to your family, and they should all be honored, honestly. Get the fuck off my screen. You're actually vile piece of human bile. Filthy trash. Filthy trash. The lowest of the low. That that particularly ticks me off. You just pinched a nerve in me, my G. Look here. You see how much they want to protect their little organization, how much they want to go hard for what they believe we know we're doing right. When the mother of the victim in this case, whether we will leave the cops are right or not right about Breonna Taylor is irrelevant to this moment. When the mother of the victim, and we're talking about them complaining about people saying they're going to help and what she's doing and what she's noticed, when she comes out and says, I feel like they're a fraud and I feel like they did more for themselves than for us, it tried to make the movement more about them rather than about her. I'm going to choose to believe the mom. I'm going to choose to believe the mother of this situation. I'm not going to believe the lies and the slander of someone claiming that they have more knowledge, they know more, and they are more capable and they're more anything in a situation rather than the mom of the situation that seems to be a mom that actually cared, whether it was right or wrong, whether we believe this is what should have happened. What I do know is that if we're going to take the side of someone in this situation, we're going to take the side of the mom and the family. As far as if we're saying we need justice, we're going to go with their side rather than your organization that have been making tons of money off of this, and they didn't get the vast majority of it. Let that be known. Y'all are disgusting. Y'all are vile. Y'all are evil incarnate. And one day, people are going to see through your lies and your deception. And I can't wait for that day. That's going to be the end of the show. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Minds of Culture podcast. Steamy episode today. But I hope you enjoyed as always. Have a good one, y'all.